In the name of the one holy and life-giving God. Amen. Please be seated. So, join the company of good men and women. Keep your feet on the tried and true paths. It's the men who walk straight who will settle this land, the women with integrity who will last here. The corrupt will lose their lives. The dishonest will be gone for good. That comes from Proverbs chapter 2, verses 20 through 22. We would like to believe that there is a sense of justice and fair play, that if you work hard and keep your nose clean, for example, you will be rewarded. That promotion with all its rewards and privileges will be yours. Some preachers will even tell you that God is just waiting to bless you with a close parking space or an upgrade to first class on that next flight. That only if you pray the right words or have deep enough faith, all your troubles will magically disappear. And yet, so often, what we perceive as fair or just does not happen. Someone we consider a slacker gets ahead of us at work. A police officer is not waiting for that driver that cut us off on the way to church this morning. Thieves and murderers go free. The best of people get cancer or other illnesses. Such examples can make us question our faith, or to at least wonder why terrible things happen to good people. Job would certainly understand. You see, Job tries hard to do the right thing and live a godly life. He does all that he can to follow God and to walk in God's ways. As we read throughout the book of Job, Job defends the widow and the orphan. He feeds the hungry and houses the homeless. Job even makes sacrifices when his children gather, just in case they unintentionally sin and offend God. Job also happens to be rich. He owns 7,000 sheep, 3,000 camels, 500 yoke of oxen, or 1,000 oxen, 500 donkeys. Then, as now, all of this would be seen as signs of God's blessing. Ancient Near East culture thought that if you live a good life, you will go far. God will bless you with family, possessions, and standing. The more righteous you are, the more you are blessed. If you do not live right, by contrast, God destines you to a life of poverty, suffering, and insignificance. In the blink of an eye, Job loses it all. Everything is ripped away from him, piece by piece. A raiding party steals all Job's oxen. Fire breaks out, killing the sheep and several servants. Another raiding party attacks and carries off the camels. Then a sandstorm blows up and kills all of Job's children. If that is not enough, Job's health begins to fail and he breaks out in painful boils. Over the course of the book of Job, Job's friends try to convince him that he must have done something wrong. Job must have offended God's sense of right and wrong. Perhaps even unknowingly or unintentionally, Job's friends reason. Job must have done something to bring all this tragedy upon himself? Job's wife is no support here either. She not so helpfully advises Job to, quote, curse God and die, end quote. I wish I had easy answers for you. I wish I knew why good people get fired, or why it appears as if the wicked prosper. Ultimately, there are no pat or easy answers. Sometimes things just happen. Oftentimes, life is complicated and messy. The book of Job tries to answer the question of why terrible things happen, even to good people of faith, by suggesting that Job is somehow, unbeknownst to Job, caught in a contest between God and Satan. In the Bible, Satan is the embodiment, the personification of all the forces of evil and wickedness, whatever seeks to distract and deceive us away from God. Satan believes that Job only trusts God because God has blessed Job. Satan, coincidentally, means the adversary, the accuser. As such, Satan seeks to block God and cause widespread suffering. We later see Satan personified again in the life and ministry of Jesus, especially in, like Matthew chapter 24, where Jesus is in the wilderness being tempted for 40 days and 40 nights. A critical note here about power and evil. Scholars are quick to point out God does not test Job. Rather, God allows the forces of evil and wickedness to put Job to the test. The power remains God's. Satan could not have done anything without God's permission. And God, in God's all-knowing wisdom, knows Job will remain faithful. Job's trust in God will not be shaken, no matter what hardship or suffering happens. And God's faith in Job is vindicated. Job chapter 2, verse 10b tells us, "Not once in all this did Job sin. He said nothing against God." Not that Job does not have some strong words for God. Over the next 3 weeks, we will sit with Job. We will observe his pain and suffering. Job will call God out on the carpet. He will cry out for justice. Job will even curse the day of his birth. However, consistently, Job defends his righteousness and refuses to curse God. Now, it would be nice if, because you and I are God's beloved children, because we are people of faith, that life would go perfectly, that nothing bad would ever happen to us. In the world of Harry Potter, there's a spell called Protego. Protego acts as a protective shield. It magically protects you from all curses and jinxes. How wonderful if faith would act like that. But it doesn't. God never promised us a rose garden, that everything would go perfectly in life. What God does promise us, however, is that God is there with us, walking with us through the challenges and trials of life. Amen.